Let's talk about Joe Flacco, though, guys, because he continues to just amaze us, rewrite record books. First quarterback in NFL history with 5 games in a row of 250 yards and 5 touchdowns with a new team. I'm running out of words to describe his performance. Jason called him LeBron James-esque, where you just shrug and say, I guess he did it.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to describe it any better than that.
I talked about the screenplay for The Natural, too. I mean, it's the story. Like, if I had suggested this story to you before the season, you would have said, that's ridiculous.
Of course.
Nobody would ever believe that.
Yeah.
You can't even, that's not even fiction. Doesn't make any sense.
I don't throw that LeBron thing around lightly, by the way. Like, I'm well aware of what I'm saying when I'm talking about one of the greatest players to ever play the game. But I spent every day with the guy for 4 years, and there was multiple nights where he would do something where you just sort of shake your head and shrug. Like, it's our job to put into words what it is we see and what's happening. And there were nights where you just go, I can't believe I just saw that. That's where we're at with this. This story is so remarkable and bonkers. I'm not calling Joe Flacco one of the greatest football players ever. I'm saying what he's doing has reached the level of the inexplainable. And you can't. I was walking around the locker room last night asking players, explain to me like I'm a third grader how this is happening because I don't understand. And the players will look at me and go, like, oh no! Nobody has a logical explanation for how this is happening. And it was funny because I was joking with him. I've joked on the show before about he's going to get drug tested. He's going to get drug tested. So I asked him last night, and when he was done with all the media, he was done with Amazon, he was done with all that, he was at his locker by himself. I was like, hey, I got to know. When Jake Browning had that 300-yard game for the Bengals, he put on Instagram that he was drug tested. Has the NFL drug tested you yet? And he cracked up. He thought it was hilarious. And he said, long story short, you know this. You take within the first week of training camp, you take your street drug test and the PED test.
Yep.
When you aren't in camp, because he was at home, he wasn't with anyone, you do it immediately when you sign. So he said, yes, they did PED test him the day he signed with the Browns, but he said, I'm sure it's coming again. It's random, but it's really not random.
After that game, probably.
When you throw for 300 yards in 4 straight games for the first time in your career, when you're now 59 yards behind Johnny Manziel on the Browns' all-time passing list, when you're 1 touchdown away from equaling Deshaun Watson on the Browns' career touchdown list, and you've been here 6 weeks, you're peeing in a cup. That's the way it goes. You're peeing in a cup.
He's been here 6 weeks. He's played 5 games.
5 games.
He's played 5 games.
He's been in a Browns uniform for 6 weeks.
I mean,
he's played 5 games.
This is absurd.
Well, he
has as many touchdowns as Kenny Pickett does in his 2 years.
That blows my mind. I had to go look that up because I didn't think that was true. That's unbelievable. Kenny Pickett, you need to step it up. But I tell you what, I need to say this because I got a bunch of mentions on Twitter about this. Earlier this week, all I said was I needed to see Joe do it against better pass and defense because it was the 29th, 27th, and 25th. And last night the Jets was ranked 2nd, and he still was able to put
And
up.
he didn't have Amari Cooper.
And he didn't have Amari Cooper. He still managed to get it done. So I am Wacko for Flacco. He definitely proved the point that I needed to see. He has my total confidence moving forward. I am a true believer in Joe Flacco and taking this team all the way. It's just something about him and Kevin Stefanski. I said it on the postgame show for the past 2 weeks. Sometimes you get with an offensive mind, and it's just like peanut butter and jelly. Y'all just go great together. And it just seems to me Kevin Stefanski and Joe Flacco is peanut butter and jelly. It just works with them two.
They never knew each other before this. I asked Joe that. I'm like, do you have any relationship with him at all? He goes, no. And everyone makes a big deal about the Kubiak connection, and okay, fine.
Yeah.
Well, Joe was with Gary Kubiak for 1 year, and Kubiak was with Kevin in Minnesota for 1 year. So it's not like there's a long history.
Right.
There's a little bit. The Browns tight ends coach was Joe's quarterback's coach in Denver. Their 1 year in Denver. So there's a little bit of familiarity.
He was with me and San Fran.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of familiarity there,
Right.
but not like it was 1 year.
Right.
And so you're right. For these guys to speak the same language, to see it the same way, they don't have a deep history together. It's the best story in the NFL. I keep saying it over and over because there's no other way to say it. Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski have done a magnificent job of building this team, of building this culture. We were texting with Aditi. We were on a group chat, and Aditi's like, I hope people appreciate what is happening.
I think they do,
They better. Listen,
it's unbelievable.
The biggest difference between, I think, this year and last year, outside of the defensive line, is been the culture. And when you go get a guy, and I credit it to Jim Schwartz. I think Jim Schwartz started it. That was, to me, was the first thing that they were trying to get the culture to change. You know Jim Schwartz, you know what he's about, you know what he brings, you know his history, you know what he does with defenses. So they went out and got a guy, because a lot of people don't know this, but when you're an offensive-minded coach, you really don't know too much about defense. Like I said, I've been around a lot of great offensive play callers. They don't really know. Defense is not their thing. That's why you go get somebody that can handle it. You don't have to worry about them fixing it. They can handle it themselves.
Well, Kyle Shanahan's not even on the headset.
At all.
When the 49ers defense is on the field, he's not even on the headset.
I've been around Kyle. He's never been on the defense. Ryan Day at Ohio State, he don't really deal with the defense. Like, some of these play callers just don't. That's not their world. So you go get somebody that you know can get it done, that can handle checks and adjustments, and that's what they did with Jim Schwartz. Last year, Kevin Stefanski everybody was mad at him for like having the play sheet in front of his face. He needs to get the pulse of the team. Well, I think at a certain point of that season, he tried to do that. He had to, I got to worry about the defense now. I got to worry about special teams now. And I still got to keep up with offense. So I think to take some stuff off his plate, let's go get us a defensive guy that can handle it. So the Jim Schwartz thing was the first thing. After the Jim Schwartz thing, next thing you need to do is get some players that have great foundation, that's been to the Super Bowl or that's been on winning cultures, so you could come and change the culture. You go get Juan Thornhill, a guy who's won the Super Bowl 2 times. You go get Zadarius Smith. You go get Dalvin Tomlinson, these guys that's got some playoff experience. And they've brought that winning attitude over here, and these players have done a great job of adapting to it.
Yeah, the Browns have gone from, for the past decade plus, of being one of the softest teams, just having a total loser mentality in that locker room, to the complete opposite.
Yeah. One thing I'll add to what you said, you can't just fire everybody at the first sign of trouble. That's how you wind up with 20 years of incompetence. They hung in there. We don't give the Haslams credit very often because they don't deserve a lot of credit as far as I'm concerned. But in this instance, they do, because they hung in there. And a lot of people were upset with how last year went. A lot of people wanted everybody fired last year. And you had to hang in there. You had to stick with it. You have to give people a chance to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. Andrew Berry did not have a very good offseason the year prior. With the defensive tackles they brought in, they were a wreck. Andrew Berry hit every move this offseason. Every single free agent they brought in has been a hit. Every undrafted free agent they brought in has hit. They learned that they didn't do right the first time, and they fixed it. Kevin didn't always hit all the right buttons last year and the year before. There was a lot going on, in case you didn't notice. There was a lot going on with the organization, with Deshaun and everything else. They gave them an opportunity to learn from that, and now you reap the benefits of that, and now you see the results. You can't just cut and run every time something goes bad.
What a disaster it would have been had they fired those guys. But we'll get more on this later. But let's get back to Joe Flacco here. I want to ask you this, Tyvis, as someone who's played in the NFL. How do you explain it as a player? I mean, you're not that long out of the league. Or have you spoken to any other players on other teams? Or Richard Sherman, who was there last night? Like, how are the guys in the game? How are guys that played? Like, you know how hard this is.
Yeah.
For him to do this, like, he hasn't played anywhere close to this level in a decade.
I think it's really Kevin Stefanski's doing a really good job of realizing what Joe Flacco's strength is. When we had Joe Flacco's college coach on, he said the best thing about Joe Flacco is he's not afraid to fail. That's what he said. He is fearless.
That's clear.
Exactly. But you know what? When you get into a new system and you get around new players, you so desperately want to win them over. You want to win the team over. And you play timid. You're scared to do certain things. Joe Flacco from day one has come in and let that ball fly, and let the best thing happen. And ever since he's done that, I think for the first time, when you hear like Amari Cooper talk after the game, you know, about Joe Flacco, he's like, yeah, man, we just kind of see it the same way, you know, and this guy does a great job of delivering the ball. He makes throws that not a lot of quarterbacks that I've played with been able to make. Yeah. So now it's got confidence in the rest of their guys. It's like, if I get an open even a little bit, he can fit it through there, and I'm going to do it. Like the David Njoku pass yesterday.
That was an unbelievable throw.
And it's crazy because David Njoku just 2 weeks ago couldn't catch a pass. Like, he was dropping everything, and now he's catching balls that shouldn't even be caught. So he's brought confidence in the rest of these guys. They know if I get open, he's going to get me the ball. If I'm the right read, if I do the right thing, the ball's going to find me. So these guys are going out there playing hard, and for Joe, it's just about, listen, this. Let's be realistic. Joe walked into this like, I don't know how many more opportunities I'm going to have after this. This could possibly be my last thing.
Yeah,
so why not? Let the chips fly. Let them fly. I'm going to go out there and throw it and just do the best I can. And it's just been succeeding.
Jason, we're always – Browns fans and the Browns organization have been looking for a quarterback forever.
I know.
Since Bernie, honestly, that would make the guys around him better. Mm-hmm. You could argue whether Derek Anderson did that for a year. You could argue whether Baker did that. I would say no. Not that they didn't play well, Derek Anderson, that 1 year, or Baker in 2020. Deshaun Watson certainly hasn't done that in his brief time here. Joe Flacco is making everybody better because, as Tyvis said, he has built confidence on the whole team.
And he commands the huddle. He walked in as a leader from day one. And I'm not comparing him to anybody else. Don't make this into a... You're saying Deshaun's not. This has nothing to do with Deshaun. This has to do with a guy who came in off the street, who was laying on his couch watching TV, and the next day he's starting quarterback. And he commanded the huddle immediately. And I won't use names, but he gets on guys. And if they don't run the right route, he is on these receivers.
You saw it yesterday. He was pissed at Tillman.
Oh, he chewed Tillman out.
Yeah.
But to be fair in that category as well, as a former player, that guy did win the Super Bowl and MVP.
Sure.
So if he says it, of course it's gonna hold weight. Like if you,
but some guys might not do that coming in, right?
No, coming in like
on day one, is it supposed to?
I'm not talking about his leadership. I'm talking about the people that's following him and hearing what he's saying, how he can get the command of guys. As a former player, if Richard Sherman, if I'm in the huddle with Richard Sherman and he comes in and say, hey, we need to lock in, we need to do this, it's going to hold a little bit more weight rather than it's somebody that didn't win a championship, right? So
I gotcha.
Right there from that he was the perfect quarterback to come into this system. Because, again, I just told you, how do you change culture? You get the new coaches in there. You get guys that's been to places where you want the rest of your team to go because people will listen to those guys because they've been there. So him coming into this offense, I don't know if anybody else got any Super Bowl experience besides him, right, on the offense?
On the offense?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Right. So everybody's going to listen to him when he comes in. Whatever he says, let's lock in because this guy has already been to where we want to go. And we want to get there. He knows how to take us there. So it holds weight with what he's saying. That's why for a guy, day one, he was going to get the respect that he deserved because he's already been a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah. Quickly scanning through the whole.
I know. I was sitting there thinking, like, I don't.
I got to tell this real quick.
Go ahead.
I wrote about it last night, but when he came in, when they signed him, so again, there was no real relationship with Kevin and AB and Joe. They were just the way it was explained to me was they literally just sort of scanned the name of street free agents that were out there, felt like he was the best one, brought him in for a workout. He really impressed them with the workout, with the Friday workout, I think it was. They didn't work out anybody else. They brought him in, paired him up with a bunch of street free agent receivers he'd never thrown to before. They could see right away the arm strength was still there. So then remember they signed him on Monday, going into Denver week. He's running scout team. And Brown's defense is terrific. So he's the scout team quarterback.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, touchdown against this Browns defense.
Literally just off the street.
With the scout team, Flacco, and I was asking different guys, I got the number, it was 5 touchdowns, it was 6 touchdowns, it was 7, it was 8 touchdowns. Every drive, scout team, boom, 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 they're scoring. And these guys started looking around like, what is going on? So they bought in when he was on scout team. That just those few days. They thought it was going to be Dorian. Dorian was going to be the guy.
Yeah.
Dorian goes down with a concussion, and everybody in that room was like, all right, that's fine. We got this old man over here who's just ripping darts across the field.
That's actually funny because that's what happened when I was in college at Ohio State. JT did that to us at a bowl practice.
Scout team?
Scout team. Came out there with bang, bang. I was like, he was like literally on the day of practice, 18 for 19, 5 touchdowns. On scout team. I was like, that dude all right there.
But he wasn't 38, about to turn 39.
No, that's true. That's true. No, he was only he was a freshman at the time.
Hopefully Joe Flacco will still be playing when he turns 39 on January, whatever it is.
6th, I believe. No, 5th.
No, I think it's like the 16th.
Is it?
I'll look it up in a second.
It can't be the 5th. Well, the 16, they'd only have to win one. Go ahead.
Real quick, one more Flacco stat, then we'll talk
the
a little bit
defense.
about defense. But he is now one of just 4 quarterbacks ever to throw for 1,600 yards and 13 touchdowns in any given calendar month, joining Jim Kelly from 1991, Peyton Manning, who did it 3 times, 2013, 2014, 2018, and Patrick Mahomes in 2018.
No, Manning twice, it says there.
Sorry, Manning. I saw the PM. Bad job out of me.
Yeah.
That's
4 quarterbacks to ever throw.
It's a lot of Hall of Famers.
Man, he
Yeah.
threw for 1,700 yards
Yes.
and 19
Look at this
touchdowns.
list. 38-year-old Joe Flacco is on the same list with
Yeah.
Mahomes, Manning, and Jim Kelly. It is
And
frankly
only Manning's
absurd.
done it in December.
The most impressive might actually
Absurd.
be Jim Kelly doing it in 1991 when nobody was throwing the ball like
Yeah,
that.
they had he had Andre Reed there.
He was the original
Yeah.
Machine Gun Kelly, by the
Yeah.
way.
Yeah. Absolutely crazy, though, Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
As Jason said, you run out of words to describe it, but sit back, enjoy
It's
it because it has
crazy.
been magical. We're going to talk a little defense here, Bull, but first, one more read from
Yeah.
our friends at FanDuel, because even as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL.
All right.